Hi, I'm Craig Garber from kingofcopy.com and welcome to this week's Ask Me Baby Q&A call. I'm the author of How to Make Maximum Money with Minimum Customers, and if you want to send in questions for future issues, just go to kingofcopy.com/askmebaby. Alrighty, so let's get into today's questions. There are some good ones actually. First one's from Paul Zielinski. Paul says, Craig, my question relates to guarantees for service providers. Now, this in general is a really important issue because guarantees are a very good way to position yourself in the marketplace. In many situations, they're a good differential, and in many situations, they alone are what allow new customers, especially in personal services, to make a leap of faith to either change service providers or to give you a shot at their business. So Paul says, I'm a reinsurance broker with a small firm. Reinsurance is what insurance companies use to hedge their bets. I actually know this business well, Paul. I used to be a CPCU, believe it or not, many years ago. In fact, when I was an insurance agent, that's when I met my wife. So there are times when a prospect is reluctant to move their business from a big broker to us. Kind of like moving from IBM or Microsoft to Joe's computer shop. So one thing I want to address with you right then and there is you have to remove that aspect. I know what you're saying, but I hope you're not looking at your business like that because that's a big disparity. You're not Joe's computer shop. You've got to start thinking about what makes you different. Like, why aren't you working for one of the big reinsurance companies? Why do you have your own business besides the simple fact that, it affords you luxury, more money, more flexibility in your time? There's got to be something from a service providing standpoint that you could offer your customers that Microsoft and IBM and the big reinsurance brokers cannot. So start thinking along those lines. Don't think like, oh, we're Joe's garage, Joe's computer shop. Because even Joe's computer shop, there's a reason why you go there. Maybe it's a personalized service, maybe it's to get a smile in there, maybe it's Joe gives you his word, it's timely, it's fast, whatever. But there's always a reason why people are able to stay in business and do well. So I thought about using a guarantee to take that risk away. In other words, the risk of going to the smaller guy from the bigger, more established companies. First of all, good idea. That's not a bad place to start. I suggested to my colleagues we offer to return half our commission if after a year the prospect isn't thrilled by our service. They were appalled. They said, what if they fire us just to get the commission back? Okay, my thoughts are, one, either they have a very cynical view of our clients, or two, if someone actually did that, they aren't the kind of client we want, but at least we got half a year's commission out of them. Okay, by the way, these are the same guys that will offer a prospect up to half our commission up front if just for signing up with us. I say cutting our commission up front is a fool's game, and I'd rather get full commission up front and risk getting fired after a year. And if they give them the service we promised, they shouldn't want to fire us anyway. What say you? Okay, this is a really good question. So you have a number of good points in there. Let's go through them. Using a guarantee to take that risk away, that's a good starting point. One of the things you have to understand about a differential is the whole point of a differential is or a USP, it's to make it very apparent why they are using you. Now, if it's that, hey, we're guaranteeing our service and we're so strong behind that, we'll give you back half your commission. We'll give you back half your commission. Okay, the issues I have with that are as follows. Number one, then you're basing first of all, thrilled by our service is very vague, okay? In many industries, you can use that because it's a one specific thing that they are doing. If you're a massage therapist, you could say that. If you're not thrilled by our service, if you don't feel better, 100% better by the time you're finished, if after 30 days you don't feel like you're 5-10 years younger, that's a specific service they're performing. As a reinsurance broker, there's a number of different moving parts that you're offering to people. So I'm a little concerned about saying thrilled with our service only because you're shortchanging yourself. I'd rather you be more specific. If we don't do this and this within 3 days, if you call us, we don't return your phone call within 2 business days. If you want to reinsure a new risk, if we don't give you weekly status updates, whatever it is you're doing, you got to be more specific than that because now it's boom, 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 very concrete as to what you're guaranteeing. Now, the other problem is I don't think it's any of their business what your commissions are, unless it's disclosed, which I don't believe it is, but I don't think it's any of their business what your commission is. And now you're saying, because then the next thing would say, well, why not give me back all your commission? If I'm not happy with what you're doing, why should you get half my business? So you start introducing like a lot of other outside components in there, which now cause question, and it could potentially bring in reluctance to the buying decision that may not have even been there before. Okay? Now, the other thing is, you have to understand something. When you tell people, well, let's have a guarantee, and they say, no, I'd rather do this or that. People that aren't familiar with direct response marketing and with human psychology and reactionary psychology, they're just not going to get it. It's like trying to convince, a Catholic why Buddhism is the way to enlightenment. It's like trying to convince a chiropractor why orthopedic surgery is better. It's just, that's not a philosophy that people have at that particular point in time. So it's really difficult to have them make that jump for the most part. Now, what you can tell them is, and maybe they'll buy this, maybe they won't, generally, when people are looking to rip you off, which is what you're talking about here, you're talking about situations where, these guys say, well, what if they hire us just to get half their commission back? Typically, people make the decision to rip you off long before they hire you, okay? And the entire purpose and you can't prevent that, period. They're going to rip you off whether you have a guarantee or not. Example, someone wants a free meal at a restaurant. And this is in my book. I know you're a Maximum Money Club member. I don't know if you have my book. If you do, it's in there in the chapter on guarantees. When someone wants to go to a restaurant and they say, hey, I'm going to get a free meal tonight, they decide that, when they're getting dressed, putting their pants on, right? They don't decide that after they get in there and they say, hey, this is a bad dessert, I need to get a free meal. If they want to rip you off, they're going to rip you off, and there's nothing you can do about that. But that's not what the purpose of these guarantees are for. The purpose of a guarantee is to take a genuine customer, and most people have good customers and good clients that are just on the edge. I'm not sure if I want to work with you. I have some uncertainty. What about this guy? And to push that person over onto your side because they have some genuine uncertainty. Don't worry about the crooks. You can't prevent those guys from robbing you anyway. So, they're not looking around. Remember, crooks are crooks because they're inherently lazy. They're not looking around and saying, hey, let's go shop a bunch of reinsurance brokers and see which ones offer a guarantee. It's just too much work involved. The thief's a thief. They're doing it because they're lazy, The other thing is, I suspect your guys are saying that because they're afraid of giving the guarantee, and they don't understand it. It's a fear of, holy shit, we can't guarantee this, So maybe explain to them or show them that section of the book where it addresses the issues with the guarantee. And yes, you're 100% right. I would never give away lower commissions up front because you're training your clients right from the get-go. Hey, the way we accommodate people and get business is by lowering commission and getting paid less money. The entire purpose of a USP or a differential, unique selling proposition or a differential, is to allow you to charge more money, not to rebate and charge less money. I mean, who the hell wants to do that? Because then when the guy down the street or in another town in Connecticut says, hey, I'll give you back 75% or I'll rebate you 75%. And believe me, there are guys out there that'll do that. Bye, the customer's gone. So you're not developing a relationship. What you're doing is developing a host-parasite relationship. That's not the one you want for clients for the short or the long term. So what you want to do is you want to have a differential that addresses not your concerns, but addresses the client's concerns. What are their fears? Why are they reluctant to maybe come on board with you? And more important, in general, in your industry, what are the 2 or 3 biggest hassles that they constantly are up against? And how can you overcome them or make sure they never have to deal with that? Those are more like the kinds of differentials that you'd want to deal with, that you'd want to have and create into some sort of multi-step guarantee or multi-step proprietary name program that includes a package of guarantees and service provisions that encompass all of these things. And when you have something like that nobody's willing to offer, then you have no problem. And frankly, I wouldn't just give them your commission back. I'd give them your commission back plus But I don't think commission needs to be an issue. I think there's another thing you can do related to this. Okay. Okay, great. We have a program here in the office that relates specifically to USPs. It's a consulting program related to USPs and differentials. If you want information on that and you're listening to this, just contact my assistant Anne, that's ANNE at kingofcopy.com, and mention to her you want information on the program that has the differentials information. All right, really good question. I like that. This one's from Terrence Edwards, and he said, Craig, what are your thoughts on USPS Every Door Direct Mail feature, and what's the best way to use it with your how to attract highly motivated sellers? And can you also touch on the issues of personalization and addressability? Yeah, another good question. So here's the deal. What Every Door Direct Mail is, look, let's face it. First of all, the USPS, United States Post Office, they're sucking wind. They got problems. In reality, they're doing a good job of creating new programs to stimulate business. I don't know if it's too little too late, but Every Door Direct Mail, you can Google it, is another program they have, and it's designed for businesses to get a hold of consumers at a much cheaper rate. And here's how the program works in a nutshell. What you do is, and it's kind of cool, you could use different size envelopes and different kinds of media within their limits of this program, and you deliver mail by postal route. So instead of delivering by zip codes or by selects, okay, like let's say you have a neighborhood, okay, and there's certain houses in that neighborhood are above a certain value or have a certain number of people in there, or they have children because you've done demographics and you've pulled list searches. So you would normally buy a list of those houses. Well, oftentimes an entire route and neighborhood is that particular kind of neighborhood, and most of the people are going to be targeted in there. So it's a lot cheaper. Instead of buying a mailing list and doing a personalized mailer, you could do Every Door Direct Mail, and it costs you like 25, 30 cents per mailer to get this out there. Okay, so it's a lot cheaper way of reaching people. Now, let me tell you the downside. The downside is there is no personalization and there is no addressability. It's literally a piece of mail stuck in the mailbox. So it's, to the household of, or it's, I don't even know it's that. I think it's just a piece of mail in there. So you're really losing a lot of that connection. Now, the specific program that I have, it's for real estate investors. You can find it on my website at kingofcopy.com/products. It's called How to Easily Attract Highly Motivated Sellers. You're really missing that component of the personalization and the component of they're getting something directly sent to them in the mail. It's hand addressed. And the thing is, when you're an investor, your client value is high enough that this really probably isn't a consideration you need to look at. Where everyday direct mail comes in handy is when you're trying to do mass market, like you're selling supplements, you're selling blinds, you're selling, if in one area, a pool and spa services, or on a lake services, and everybody on that route is on a lake, where you're generally trying to reach the consumers, and the offer maybe is a coupon related. Or you could use lead generation there with direct response marketing, but it's something less personal. If you're an investor, one of the keys of this program that I have here is it allows you to create your differential is in the communication itself. It's not the same old little yellow letter that says, hey, I was driving by and my wife and I would like to buy your house. It's a totally different ball game. And you don't get that with every door direct mail. That's my personal opinion on it. I think, and again, if your client values are lower and your front end values are lower, every door direct mail is great. And even if you're trying to generate loans or refinancing of houses, it's appropriate, but there's different ways of using it. But in this particular situation with, hey, look, try it if you want. Maybe it'll be worth it, but your acquisition cost, what this does is it lowers your customer acquisition cost dramatically. But when you're flipping houses and you're talking about $5,000, $10,000 or more value per client, do you really need? I'd rather get a good quality client, especially this particular kind of marketing you're using. Two-step lead generation is a better flow. Hey, here's the best answer. Test it. Pick a couple of routes. The other thing is with a route with every door direct mail, how do you know what's the likelihood that you're mailing something to somebody that's getting in the right hands? Typically, you're trying to go after people that own properties. It's really a shot in the dark. If people on that particular postal route happen to be landlords or own property. So I would say this is a miss, but hey, prove me wrong and test it. You never know. Won't be the first time I'm proven wrong, that's for sure. A couple of interesting things which I want to go over with you before we wrap up. It's so interesting when you test words. For instance, when I send out an email, okay, and when you want to send in questions here, you go to kingofcopy.com. I used to have it ask me baby, kingofcopy.com ask me baby. So I recently said, okay, let me just change it to ask and see what happens. Do you know when I left it at ask, the number of questions we got sent in dropped by over 50%? We get more than double the questions sent in when it says ask me baby. I thought that was very funny, and it's always a good thing to do to, I wouldn't, it's on a whim that it wasn't really a test even. I just changed it without thinking of anything. But after a few times, we tried it both ways, and kingofcopy.com ask me baby gets double the number of questions sent in. So I found that very interesting. The other thing is we got some questions in here recently about the skulls behind me. So I want to go over those with you. So these are two skulls. I'm not like into skulls or anything. I just want to have these two pieces here because they have a little bit of a story background behind them. So this skull right here is, I saw this on a commercial online like 5 years ago. This is actually a bottle of Crystal Head vodka. And the reason I bought it was Dan Aykroyd, who I grew up with watching on Saturday Night Live, did a really cool online commercial for them. So I wanted to get this. And like I said, this is 5 years old. Crystal Head vodka. And if you go online, it turns out like on eBay, they now have hundreds of like lights you can put under here, and the Crystal Head rotates around, and it's actually spawned an entire industry of, small crystal heads like this. Like I saw one, a little tiny one recently to hold. It's like a flask, Anyway, that's the story behind that. This one here is, I got this in Epcot Food and Wine Festival you have the countries there. I got it in Mexico. This is crafted in Mexico. And I just liked the amount of the artistry and the work that went into it. I thought it was really creative. So I don't have like a skull thing. In fact, I don't. It's just random that these two pieces are skulls, and I just threw them back there. So, anyway, hey, listen, I got to run. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, send them in next week to. Send them in anytime you want to kingofcopy.com, ask me baby. You want to get a copy of my book, go to kingofcopy.com/Max. It's on sale now, free shipping, cheaper than it is on Amazon. And if you want to download a free report on iTunes, it's the 7 biggest marketing mistakes entrepreneurs make. And on Amazon, I think it'll cost you 99 cents. 7 biggest marketing mistakes entrepreneurs make and how to avoid them. I'm out. Have yourself a great day. Enjoy. Thanks for listening.